The UN has endeavored to replace the incomplete peace maintained by the balance of power with sustainable peace grounded in cooperation, thereby promoting freedom for entire humanity. To ensure a complete, lasting peace which will begin taking firm root on the Korean Peninsula, Korea remains fully committed to doing its part. Envisioning a denuclearized, co-prosperous Korean Peninsula, the government of the Republic of Korea has steadily carried forward the Korean Peninsula peace process and amid the support of the international community achieved historic milestones. The Panmunjom Declaration, Pyongyang Joint Declaration of September 2018, a military agreement resulting from the Inter-Korean Summit, as well as the Singapore Declaration from the U.S.-North Korea Summit. Peace on the Korean Peninsula begins always with dialogue and cooperation. I call for speedy resumption of dialogue between the two Koreas and between the United States and North Korea. I hope to see that the Korean Peninsula will prove the power of dialogue and cooperation in fostering peace. 2 years ago, in this very place, I declared zero tolerance for war, mutual security guarantee, and co-prosperity as the 3 principles in resolving issues related to the Korean Peninsula. Last year, I proposed a declaration to ending the war on the Korean Peninsula. More than anything, an End the War declaration will mark a pivotal point of departure in creating a new order of reconciliation and cooperation on the Korean Peninsula. Today, I once again urge the community of nations to mobilize its strength for the End the War declaration on the Korean Peninsula, and propose that 3 parties of the 2 Koreas and the United States, or 4 parties of the 2 Koreas, the US, and China, come together and declare that the war on the Korean Peninsula is over. When the parties involved in the Korean War stand together and proclaim an end to the war, I believe we can make irreversible progress in denuclearization and usher in an era of complete peace. In fact, this year marks a meaningful 30th anniversary of the simultaneous admission of South and North Korea into the United Nations. With the joint accession to the UN, the 2 Koreas both recognized that they were 2 separate nations, different in systems and ideologies. However, such was never meant to perpetuate the division. For when we acknowledged and respected each other, only then could we set out on a path to exchange, reconciliation, and unification. When the 2 Koreas and the surrounding nations work together, peace will be firmly established on the Korean Peninsula, and prosperity fostered across entire Northeast Asia. That will go down as a Korean Peninsula model in which peace is attained through cooperation. North Korea, for its part, must brace for changes that befit the era of global community. I expect that the international community, together with Korea, remain always ready and willing to reach out to North Korea in a cooperative spirit. Heeding the yearnings of the separated families already advanced in age, we must lose no time in pressing ahead with their reunions. When South and North Korea are engaged together in regional platforms such as the Northeast Asia Cooperation for Health Security, a more effective response to infectious diseases and natural disasters will become feasible. As a community bound by common destiny on the Korean Peninsula, and as the members of the global community, the South and North, I hope, will come together to join forces. Towards building a Korean Peninsula that promotes shared prosperity and cooperation, I will make ceaseless efforts until my very last day in office. The recent situation in Afghanistan serves as a stark reminder of the crucial role that the UN plays in advancing peace and human rights. Coming December, the UN Peacekeeping Ministerial will be hosted in Korea. To ensure safer and more effective operation of UN peacekeeping missions, Korea will make use of this opportunity to encourage closer cooperation in the international community. For the UN's initiatives in conflict prevention and peace building, Korea too will increase its fair share of contribution. Korea will make a bid for a seat as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council for the coming 2024-2025 term and to build sustainable peace and thriving future generations, it stands ready to play an active part. And I look forward to your cooperation and support in this regard. Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, and distinguished delegates, humanity, even in the darkest hours of adversity, has never lost hope for the future. Trusting one another, working side by side, we have changed that very hope into reality. Even in the face of the COVID-19 crisis, we're yet again sowing the seeds of hope. To build back better, we're gathering our greatest strengths. If humanity is united as one and never loses sight of today, we will surely be able to build a better tomorrow. As humanity embarks on a new journey for ushering in the era of global community, I count on the United Nations to lead the way with a spirit of solidarity and cooperation. Thank you.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Korea for the statement just made, and I request protocol to escort His Excellency. The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Recep Tayyip Erdogan, President of the Republic of Turkey. I request protocol to escort His Excellency. On behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honor to welcome to the United Nations His Excellency Recep Tayyip Erdogan, President of the Republic of Turkey, and to invite him to address the Assembly.
Sayın Baş...
Esteemed President, Venerable Heads of State and Government, Honorable Secretary General, distinguished delegates, on behalf of myself and my nation, I would like to wholeheartedly greet you. I wish that the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly will be beneficial for our countries and the entire human race. I'm very pleased to be at the General Assembly again after 2 years to address you, because as the humanity in the last 2 years, we've really been through painful times. We have lost 4.6 million people, including our friends, relatives, and loved ones during the COVID-19 pandemic, which was labeled as the biggest health crisis of the last century. Despite all the efforts displayed and the progress we've made in vaccination, we still witness the continuation of the negative ramifications of the pandemic. In such a climate that we are observing the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly, and I do believe that the messages of solidarity and cooperation which we will be conveying here will not only support the fight against the pandemic, but also increase the hopes of billions of people who are going through very challenging times. Our General Assembly needs to be strengthened so that the international community can contribute more effectively to the solution of global problems. And I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to Mr. Volkan Bozkır, President of the 75th General Assembly, for his fruitful work towards that direction. And I do believe that Mr. Abdullah Shahid, who recently assumed the presidency of the 76th General Assembly, will carry the flag forward to greater heights. And as Turkey, we will continue to fulfill our responsibilities so that the General Assembly can carry out its activities in the most efficient way. On this occasion, I also would like to congratulate Mr. Guterres, who once again assumed the duty of United Nations Secretary General, and wish him continued success. It's extremely fitting that this year's General Assembly has been organized under the theme Building Resilience Through Hope. First of all, I would like to express one fact, no matter how painful it might be to hear. Unfortunately, we were reminded once again during this pandemic that the entire world are a part of a big family. But the solidarity test that we were put to failed us miserably. Especially the underdeveloped countries and poor segments of the societies were literally left to their fate in the face of the pandemic. The distorted structure of the global system, which rather creates problems instead of solutions, deepens those problems and condemns them to insolvency, also holds its share in the increased loss of lives around the world. At a time when millions of people have lost their lives and tens of millions of people are suffering in the grip of the virus, it is a disgrace for humanity that the vaccine nationalism is still being carried on through different methods. It's clear that a global disaster such as the COVID-19